Hello and welcome to a new episode of Hablemos de Bitcoin, a show by Satoshi in Venezuela. I'm your host, Javier Bastardo, and today we are going to have a great episode of this podcast with Lyn Ulbricht, that is Rose Ulbricht's mom, and we are going to have her to discuss about her son case, but also how we can get involved to help Rose. We also talked a little with Martha Bueno, that is spreading the word about how Cubans could use Bitcoin, and also talked a little with her about the Ross Ulbricht case. So I want to thank you for listening this episode, and let's get started with the episode. But before, let's have a message for our show sponsors, Lyn.io, Bitrefill, and HODL. Hablemos de Bitcoin is sponsored by Lyn.io, a suite of services that help you earn more Bitcoin and digital dollars. Lyn products would let you earn interest, ask for USD loans, and get credits to buy more Bitcoin. Their serving account in USDC and Bitcoin in cooperation with Genesis would give you the best rates in the market, working with one of the more prominent and known institutions in the industry. Lyn has an exclusive service called B2X that will use your Bitcoin to take a credit and buy the same amount of Bitcoin. And if you need dollars, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin, you can get a Bitcoin-backed loan in 24 hours and you will not need to sell. Do you want to put wings on your Satoshis? Learn more at Lyn.io. Remember to visit their website to know the rates. And now we're going to have a message from HODL, that is a P2P market with no KYC and not custody of your funds. You will be transacting in a private way using multi-signatures of Bitcoin protocol. You will also have the option to use their Lyn service that works in the same way, without KYC, with no custody, and in a user-friendly way. HODL. And finally, Bitrefill. Bitrefill is the easiest way to live through your Bitcoin. Remember that you will find almost 300 different options to buy gift cards through the platform. So yes, it is easy to live with Bitcoin thanks to Bitrefill. And well, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Well, thanks a lot for being with us today, Miss Ulbricht. It is a really great pleasure, especially to talk about this topic that we are going to discuss today. Well, thanks for being here and welcome to Hablemos de Bitcoin.
Thanks for having me. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Excellent. Pretty nice Spanish. If
Not too good, but
if I want to introduce this topic, that is a really important one, discussion to all the Bitcoiners around the world, I think that many of us already know who Ross Ulbricht is and how important he is to Bitcoin history. But I think that we already know who he is and why his freedom was taken away. So I want to ask you about the different corruption and violation things that happening on Ross case that are making us to raise our voice to, because we think that it is undeserved. So if you can explain us a little this kind of different faults that are in the case, will be really great to understand this topic.
yes, thank you for that question. The most obvious, the biggest part of that question were that there were two corrupt agents that went to prison. And one of them, I think, is still in prison, but he's getting out soon. And they were in prison for stealing and corruption and essentially what happened was they got access to the Silk Road website and used that access to steal from vendors. But it also, they had the ability, because they had this access to, they had passwords, PIN numbers, they acted as several aliases. They had the ability to act as Dread Pirate Roberts, who was the main administrator's handle, that they said Ross used that handle. And so the thing about it is, okay, so it was proven in court, they stole all this money, they had all this access, but the judge in Ross's trial knew about one of them, knew about all what he did, and wouldn't let the jury know about them. So the jury had no idea that there were these corrupt agents with free reign all over the website who could not only steal, but change what they were seeing as evidence. They were saying, here's the evidence. And well, those guys had access to change that. Another interesting thing was that after trial and 2 months later, the defense team and Ross kept digging into the evidence that the prosecutors had provided, because that's part of the system, and found in an obscure folder that what was presented to the jury and what was presented as evidence had been edited. A big bunch of it had been deleted because they found the full file. And also the fact that someone using the Dread Pirate Roberts handle gained access to the Silk Road forum after Ross was already arrested. He had already been in prison almost 2 months, and this other DPR person got in. Who knows what that's about, except that it does indicate, as many things do, that Ross certainly wasn't the only person running that site. And other people were also doing that. But they wanted their trophy. They wanted to have a guy that they could say did it. And they, as we say here, threw the book at him. So that's part of the corruption. I personally believe that the fact that they did not allow the jury to get the full information about these agents was a violation of the Brady rule, and that's in the American system, where prosecutors are not allowed to hide evidence that helps the defendant, and they did exactly that. If you look at the sentencing, if you look at the biggest drug seller on Silk Road who actually sold drugs. Ross was never accused of actually selling the drugs. He was put in prison, prosecuted for his role on the site itself, creating it and running it, at least for part of the time. And so that guy, biggest drug seller, got 10 years. And he's out now after 7 because of COVID. Pretty big difference. Double life plus 40 years, your whole life, death in prison, and 7 years. Same with the guy who started Silk Road 2, the next Silk Road site after the first Silk Road was taken down. He's not even in prison. He never went to prison. The government said, oh yeah, it's an identical site, but bigger. And yet Blake Blenthal, never went to prison. But here's where I'm not saying I want him in prison. I'm just saying it should be equal. It should be that's part of the law here. And what's that about? There's so many questions. And those sentences, and it goes down there, every single Silk Road defendant has gotten 10 years or less of a sentence, except Ross. So, yeah. So that is some of the corruption. I think you could call it corruption. I think it's the unfairness and all whatever is going on behind the scenes. But certainly the corrupt agents not being known to the jury.
I definitely think that it could change a lot if the jury knew this information. And also about this last comment that you made around other platforms, other operators of similar platforms, I want to dive a little deep into this because it seems like they are making a kind of example on Rose's case. Like, you can make something like this because we are going to punish you with a really big, I don't know, like this kind of it is a life sentence, two life sentence. It is really disproportionate if you think about these other platforms operators. So I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on this different approach of the people that are judging the Ross actions? Why are they so interested in seeing Rose spending all his life in prison?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Why Ross, right? Why such a huge sentence? And it is a violation of the Sentencing Reform Act, which is U.S. law that says that if somebody does something similar to someone else, they should get very similar sentencing, which just makes, it's just fairness. I think that at first I thought, oh, well, this is a drug case and, okay. And then I saw these sentences, which were so much less than Ross, the biggest drug seller, the biggest seller of cocaine, he got 5 years. The biggest seller of meth got 3 years. He was going to get 6, but the judge said, well, since one of those corrupt agents was involved, I'm going to cut it in half. Ross got no break for his sentence from those agents. I think that they wanted a trophy. I think that they even said, we want it, like you mentioned, they want to make an example of him. And I guess the judge thought she could stop this activity. Of course, it didn't at all. In fact, many more came online after that. So I think, but I honestly think at the core of all of it is the Bitcoin, because this marketplace that Ross created only ran on Bitcoin. You had to know how to use Tor. You had to, for privacy, you had to open a Bitcoin account. You had to fund a Bitcoin account. I mean, and use it. It wasn't easy. And people act like it was so easy. It wasn't. And so I think it put Bitcoin on the map. Many people had never even heard of Bitcoin before Silk Road. And so I think that that was a big part of why they went after him so hard. And actually, I was at the Bitcoin conference in Miami last June and was talking to Tim Draper, who's a venture capitalist who bought a lot of the Bitcoin that was auctioned by the government of Ross's Bitcoin. And I said, why do you think they're so down on Ross? Why are they just so? And he said, because he's a symbol of Bitcoin. He's a symbol of all of this that's become so big in the world now. And he's there. It's the symbol. And I think he might have a point there. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the original question. I just kind of went on talking, but basically, I think that makes a lot of sense. That's why, because drug dealers, even kingpins, they don't get that kind of sentencing. Kingpins don't, even ones that are responsible for murdering people don't get those kind of sentences. We have a whole list of them. So I think it was more to send, like you say, send a message and make him an example and try to stop Bitcoin, which didn't
Yeah, it's
work.
and I think that is one of the most important things to think about the Ross case, that it is something that is really deeply related to Bitcoin. That if
Yeah, it is.
if it wasn't because of the Ross platform, many of the people that are living through Bitcoin today really won't know a word about Bitcoin. So it seems to be like a way to tell others that you can end your days like this because
Right.
of trying to create something that give freedom to the people. Because I think that there is a kind of morality thing around if the products that you sell or buy are some kind of good or evil things, but you are just making a site where people can exchange anything that they want in a freely way. They were not compelled by Ross or any of the Silk Road
That's
operators to
right.
do so. So
There was no
I
force.
think that
Yeah. Right. Sorry.
and yeah, and that is really sad to see because the drug war is not even close to finish because of Ross spending his life in prison, and it is really unfair. But sadly, this is the reality that we are facing, and I want to ask you how we can get involved because I'm trying to approach this case to our community, the Spanish community, but I also want to know how we can help if we can do it.
Well, thank you. That's really nice. I well, we have a petition. Well, first of all, if people want more information, please go to freeross.org. And there's a lot of information, and we have footnotes where they can really dig into things. I recommend it. Um, and on the home page, not only do we have all those sentences that are so much lower than Ross's and all of that information, but we have a red button at the top right to click, and you can sign the petition to the president saying, please correct this sentence. This isn't right. This is terrible. And it's got almost 500,000 signatures. You don't have to be an American. You can anyone can sign it. And yeah, so please sign that petition. Please share the petition. Yeah, there it is, right on the homepage. Click to sign the petition. We're one of the biggest petitions on change.org now, or getting close to that. So we want to show people in the government, say, look, this is a movement. This isn't just a small thing, because it represents not only Ross, but so many people in the United States who have very long sentences that they shouldn't have. This is a situation in the US that really needs to change. I don't know what it's like in Venezuela. I can't imagine it would be very good there either.
Yes, I think that it is really important to people that is watching or listening this episode to go to freerust.org and sign the petition. If you can share it and also connect with other people that you see that will understand why it is so important, well, it will be really useful to Lyn and all the team around this. And also I think that not so many people in Latam knows about Ross, and it is really difficult to connect people with things that happening that they already almost forget about these kind of things. But I want to ask you, what is your invitation or your comment to the Spanish speaking community to maybe may be involved or try to help if they want to?
Right. Well, of course, we welcome anyone who cares about freedom, who cares about justice, who wants to, um, help. And as I was saying before, it's not just about Ross, and it's really not just about the United States. I think that justice and freedom matter all over the world. And he is a symbol with Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin, I know I have friends who are working with people in Venezuela with Bitcoin, and the potential that it has. Uh, but so yes, it's not just something about Ross or our country. It's really a matter of injustice and how, you can make your voice heard even a little bit by signing that petition. It takes about under a minute. I personally I'm working with Martha as best I can about Cuba and helping people in Cuba. So I feel like we're all in this together, the people who care about freedom and the right thing for whatever country you're in. So this is one case. It's a very bad case, but it's only just one case. And I'm one mother. And so I'm going to speak out for my son's case, but I also always speak out for the other prisoners here in the United States and other things going on in the world. So I'd really appreciate any help. And we do have a lot of support in Central and South America and Mexico. So I don't know about Spain. I'm thinking Spanish speaking, but certainly in Latin America. So please join them and spread the word. It's an important case.
It is really an important case, and also Miss Ulbricht just mentioned that Martha Bueno, that is another guest that we are going to have right now in this conversation. Just to know a little about this project, Miss Lyn already mentioned it about how to get involved with Cuban people. What are these projects, or I don't know, think that you are working to connect with Cubans? I think that maybe we can do this part in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yeah, I do. I could probably understand a lot of it.
Okay. Bueno, Marta, cuéntanos un poco de esta conexión con los cubanos, de qué se trata esto que estás trabajando, y bueno, bienvenida también a Hablemos de Bitcoin.
Bueno, primero que todo, muchísimas gracias por tenerme y muchísimas gracias a Lyn, porque de verdad que el apoyo de ella para los cubanos ha sido excepcional y desde el comienzo siempre se ha ofrecido para ayudar. Lo que quiero conectar yo, lo que me interesa conectar es la comunidad de Bitcoin, aquí en los Estados Unidos en general, pero sobre todo en Miami, con la comunidad cubana. Cómo ayudar a los cubanos en Cuba, recibir Bitcoin y poder hacer transacciones en Bitcoin. Al igual que lo están haciendo en Venezuela, como me imagino que muchos de tus oyentes saben, Venezuela es uno de los países que más utiliza el Bitcoin y las monedas de criptomonedas en el mundo. Entonces, eso es algo que los venezolanos tienen que a su favor, gracias a que el comunismo no entró en Venezuela tan atrás, en los 50, como entró en Cuba. Ellos sí tuvieron la infraestructura para poder usar tecnologías nuevas. En Cuba no existe, entonces hay que traer esa infraestructura a Cuba como lo tiene Venezuela. Y por supuesto, Venezuela necesita más ayuda. La idea es de conectar estas comunidades y las cosas que han funcionado en Venezuela, poder usarlas en Cuba, al igual que lo que funciona en Cuba, poder pasarlo a Venezuela. La idea es de darle libertad, la mayor cantidad de libertad financiera sobre todo, a los países que más lo necesitan.
Perfecto. Y si de repente alguien que nos escuche esta conversación con Lyn o esta parte directamente sobre Cuba quisiese participar, apoyar, ¿dónde puede conseguir tu contacto o dónde consigue más información sobre este proyecto?
Por supuesto. El proyecto todavía es muy nuevo. En realidad lo estoy haciendo con People for Cuba. La idea es que estamos enviando medicamentos a Cuba en este momento. Si se quieren conectar conmigo directamente, me pueden conseguir en todos los medios sociales, @bueno for Miami, el número 4 es el 4, bueno 4 Miami. Ahí me puedes conseguir en Twitter, sobre todo, en Instagram, en Facebook, en todas partes. Se pueden conectar directamente conmigo. Siempre mantengo los canales de direct message abiertos. El proyecto de People for Cuba lo estamos lanzando aquí en Miami y es recolectar medicamentos para enviar a Cuba. Ya hemos llegado casi 800 libras de medicamentos a Cuba de manera directa. No pasa por el gobierno, como me imagino que saben muchos de tus oyentes, cuando los gobiernos mandan medicamentos a estos países, a Venezuela, a Cuba, a donde quiera que hagan falta, los gobiernos se quedan con lo que mandan. La ayuda humanitaria no llega al pueblo. En Venezuela, lo hemos visto, en los Estados Unidos le han enviado millones de dólares a Venezuela y acá, según USAID, menos del 2% llegó a las manos de los venezolanos. Lo demás, pues, quién sabe dónde se quedó. Según dependiendo de quién le pregunte, puede ser el gobierno, puede ser el interino, puede ser las organizaciones. El punto es que no les llega. Nuestro gol es de llegarle directamente y crear ese puente entre las personas que están en Cuba, que necesitan los medicamentos, y la comunidad aquí en el extranjero. La idea es de poder crear ayuda directa y humanitaria. Nosotros no necesitamos el gobierno que nos ayude, nosotros nos podemos ayudar entre nosotros mismos. La diaspora que existe en Miami, la diaspora de los cubanos, es enorme. En Miami nada más hay mucho más de 1 millón de cubanos viviendo. Entonces nosotros podemos ayudarnos entre nosotros, no requerimos de un gobierno que nos ayude, y esa es la idea. Ahora, después de llegar las medicinas, nos gustaría llegarles con una moneda, algo que puedan transaccionar en Cuba y usar algo fuera del sistema comunista.
Brutal, porque además esto nos permite conectar esto que venía mencionando Lyn sobre que a pesar de que estamos hablando del caso de Ross, todo lo que nos interesa es la libertad. Bitcoin como una herramienta que brinda libertad para los ciudadanos de Venezuela, de Cuba y del mundo en general, y que también fue en su momento una herramienta que se encontró para crear un lugar en donde pudiese intercambiarse cualquier tipo de mercancía de manera irrestricta, y eso también es una forma de encauzar la libertad. Así que, bueno, la invitación aquí a sumarse también a Bueno for Miami. De todas maneras, los links a las redes sociales, tanto de Lyn como de todo el equipo detrás de la campaña Free Ross y de Marta, van a estar añadidos en la descripción del video y en sus agregadores de podcast, así que van a poder contactarse con ella. Quisiera finalizar con un poco llamada a la acción. Primero vamos con Marta a ver cómo nos podemos, ya nos contaste cómo involucrarnos, pero cómo podemos incidir de repente en nuestras localidades. Esta idea desde la diáspora, pero también acá desde Caracas, y también la gente en cualquier parte del mundo que sienta que tiene algo por lo que hacer o por lo que luchar. ¿Cómo hacerlo? ¿Qué es lo que hace falta para hacer las cosas, Marta?
Por supuesto. Primero que nada, le pido de favor a todo el mundo que esté escuchando esto que pare lo que está haciendo y vaya a freeross.org y firme la petición. Imagínense nada más lo increíble que sería que los venezolanos, las personas que estén fuera de los Estados Unidos, puedan ayudarnos a liberar al preso político que tienen los Estados Unidos, porque eso es lo que es Ross. Ross es nuestro preso político. A él lo metieron en una cárcel, le quitaron su libertad por expresar lo que este país dice que es lo más importante que tiene, que es la libertad. Él tuvo la libertad de hacer un website que, por cierto, ya ha sido copiado. Uno puede entrar al dark web y conseguir cientos de websites, igual que el que hizo Ross. Y nadie de esas personas está pasando por un mal momento como lo está pasando Ross. Yo creo que es algo sumamente importante, y para los que quieren libertad en Venezuela, esto debería ser algo que se sumen a este esfuerzo. Vamos a liberar a Ross. Él es alguien que se lanzó, tal vez por su juventud, tal vez porque se creía no sé, que podía hacer algo bueno por el mundo, y empezó a usar Bitcoin para hacer estas transacciones. Él fue el que le dio la legitimidad al Bitcoin. Y yo creo que nuestro deber como Bitcoiners, como gente de la criptomoneda, es de apoyarlo. Así que les pido de favor que vayan a freeross.org. A partir de ahí hay muchas cosas que podemos hacer. Continuar de usar cripto, hacer esta comunidad, yo creo que es lo más fundamental. Y de ahí, pues, no creo que tengamos todas las respuestas. Para Cuba, para Venezuela, no tenemos todas las respuestas de cómo usar la criptomoneda. Yo creo que eso solo viene con gente de a través del mundo haciendo estas pequeñas transacciones y viendo qué funciona y qué no funciona, y cómo podemos salir de las situaciones usando la tecnología.
Totalmente de acuerdo, y bueno, la invitación de nuevo a que vayan de una vez si estás viendo el episodio, freeross.org. Lyn, I want to ask you, as I made with Martha, about these final thoughts on how we can also not only get involved, but also how we can fight for the causes that we find that are useful, that are valuable, like freedom, like the freedom of your son. That we are freedom fighters all around the world using Bitcoin, and this is a kind of fight that we all can make. So, what are your thoughts on fighting for the right causes and why it is important to help Ross if we can do it?
Yeah, thank you. Well, there's a huge platform out there called social media, and a lot of people put things up that are not true, um, and others that support us correct them. And many people follow us, but we can always use more followers. Actually, Martha's helping me with this. And, just getting on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and retweeting us, commenting, spreading it, and sharing it with people in your country or around the world. Um, it becomes a movement, right? That's how we got almost 500,000 signatures on our petition, is because people hear about it and they learn about it. And so the more people can put it out, put it up on social media, put it up on the internet, articles that have been written about it, that sort of thing, the better it is. The more people think, well, this is really wrong. This has got to change. So, if whatever help people can give that way would be wonderful. And I don't know if you're putting up our Twitter and Facebook, but you are? Okay, good.
Yes, I will add all the links on social media and also all the accounts that are related to Free Ross team. And well, it is really. I don't feel like said that it's a great conversation because it feels sad to talk about someone that have kept away his freedom.
Mhm.
And if we remember the voice of Rose in Miami 2021, it was a really sad moment to listen. He is communicating with us, but it feels like a right thing to do, like spread the word about the Ross case and how we can get involved. That is all
Mhm.
the thing about this whole episode, how we can get involved in the causes that we find that are worth to fight. So I really want to thank you, Lynn,
Thank
for
you.
doing this.
Thank you.
And also, Martha, thanks a lot for connecting us with Cubans. I'm really touched by this conversation, and it is a great pleasure to help you to connect with Venezuelans and all
That's
the
great.
things.
Yeah.
But
That-
well, thanks a lot, and well, people, please, really, really, please go and tweet out the hashtag Free Ross, and also go to freeross.org and sign the petition, share it.
And just so you know, I'm sure, I know it's true with Martha too. We're for you in Venezuela too. I feel like the world is dividing up in every country between people who love freedom and just want to live their lives and have freedom to do what they want, and and tyrants, people who want to control other people. And so we're with you in Venezuela.
Thanks a lot. That means a lot. And well, let's close this conversation here. And thanks a lot for the people that will listen this episode and check it on YouTube. I will close here.